By the time I walked into the dining room, the holiday dinner was already underway. Laughter, silverware clinking, and fake smiles filled the air. My pulse thudded in my chest like a war drum. Every seat was filled. My mom, dad, my sister Winona and her kids, and there, sitting at the end of the table like she owned it, was Aida, my wife. And across from her, the man I'd grown to hate more than I ever thought possible, Dakota. He lounged back in his chair, smirking like he had every right to be there. She laughed at something he said, tossing her head back like the punchline came from God himself. It was all so perfect, so damn rehearsed. Neither of them saw it coming. I slipped a flash drive out of my pocket and walked straight past the warm greetings, ignoring the casseroles and cranberry sauce. That little piece of plastic in my hand? It was a grenade, and I was ready to pull the pin. Hours earlier, I had finally found it, the proof. Their messages, their late-night videos, their secret plans. Aida's betrayal laid bare in front of me, ugly and undeniable. I had not slept. I did not need to. I just kept hitting play, letting the fury burn through every corner of my chest. And now I was here, in the middle of my family's home, ready to light the match. I crossed the room, plugged the drive into the TV, and without a word, hit play. "What is this?" Aida asked, her voice sharper than usual, laced with tension. "You'll see," I said, I was never leaving the screen. The room hushed. Every fork dropped. Every conversation died. The video played. Her giggle. His hands. Her whispers. Dakota's voice. Their secret, now public, exposed in 1080p. Gasps cut through the silence like knives. Aida froze. Her fork hit the plate, ringing like a bell. Her face turned the color of chalk. And Dakota? His grin vanished, like someone punched the breath out of him without touching him. My mother stood up, stammering, "Aida." I raised a hand to silence her. Aida tried to get up, but her knees buckled. She collapsed into her seat like a lifeless doll. Chairs scraped the floor. People rose in shock. But my eyes were locked on Dakota. I lunged, grabbed him by the shirt collar, and yanked him out of his seat before anyone could blink. His eyes went wide, but it was too late. "You snake," I growled, and slammed his face into the table. There was a crack, his nose, probably, and blood sprayed across the white tablecloth like spilled wine, right next to the mashed potatoes and sweet yams. "This is what you get," I shouted, my fist hammering his stomach, my knee driving into his groin. "This is what happens when you go after another man's wife." Dakota collapsed, groaning like a kicked dog. His hands covered his groin, nose streaming red. "Noden, stop," my father barked. But I was beyond reason. I wanted everyone to see. I needed them to see. After all these years, I would not let my pain stay hidden 1 second longer. I turned to Aida. She had come to. Her mascara was streaked, her expression blank with shock. "You thought I would never find out?" I said, barely able to breathe. "How long, Aida? How long have you been lying to me?" The room went dead silent. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Like a fish drowning in air. That perfect mask she wore in public, it cracked. Finally, "Please, Noden," she whispered, gripping the table like it could keep her afloat. "Don't say please now," I snapped, pacing like a caged animal. My fists were torn up from smashing his smug face, but I didn't care. The sting only reminded me I was still standing. All those nights, all those business trips. And every time I asked you, you said I was imagining things. "It's not what you think," she started. I laughed coldly. Bitter. "Not what I think?" I pointed at the screen where their betrayal was frozen like a crime scene. "Are you going to say that's Photoshop? Or am I hallucinating again?" She looked like she wanted to shrink into the floor. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. "I just didn't know how." "You didn't know how?" My voice climbed with every word. "But you sure as hell knew how to meet him at cheap motels. You knew how to text him when you were in bed next to me." She stood up fast, her chair toppling. "You don't understand," she screamed, sobbing now. "You were never home. You stopped caring." That hit me harder than her affair. So now this was my fault? I worked to give you the life you wanted. I shouted. The house. The trips. The damn roof over your head. And this is how you pay me back. Dakota whimpered behind me. I kicked a chair away and pointed down at him. "Do not even think about getting up," I warned. He froze, blood pooling under his nose. Winona, my sister, stepped in. "Noden, please. This is madness. We're family. Let's not do this here." "Oh, we're doing it right here," I said, my voice splitting the room. I'm not being lied to in silence anymore. Aida's tears suddenly turned to rage. "You want the truth?" she snapped. Fine. Yes. I cheated. Because I was lonely. Because he was there, and you were not. He listened. You stopped. The room was stunned. My mother had her hands over her mouth. My father was cursing under his breath. I clenched my fists so hard they ached. So you threw everything away because I was working? Because I was trying to build something for us. You ignored me for years, she shouted. You treated me like furniture. I took a step toward her. She flinched. I gave you everything, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Everything. Dakota muttered through broken lips, it was never supposed to happen this way. I barked out a laugh. You didn't mean to hurt anyone? You just snuck around behind my back for 6 months by accident. Winona tried again. Noden, enough. You need to walk away. You're just making it worse. Worse. I turned on her. My wife, your sister-in-law, has been screwing this loser for half a year, and you want me to play nice? Still, she kept her tone steady. What do you want, Noden? Really? Good question. I wanted to throw Aida's clothes out the window. Wanted to erase the past year like it never happened. But neither of those things would fix what broke. Aida reached for my hand, but I jerked back. Do not, I whispered. Do not pretend we are okay. I want to fix this, she begged. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit my job. I'll do anything. Just, please don't give up on us. I stared into her eyes, looking for the woman I married. But all I saw was a stranger in my wife's skin. I can't answer that right now, I said. Not after this. The blood on the table. The still image on the television. The betrayal in full display. Aida nodded through tears. I turned to Dakota, still on the floor. As for you. He raised his hands like a scared animal. You come near me or my family again, I said, voice cold and final, and you'll wish tonight was the worst day of your life. He nodded, eyes wide. I turned, grabbed my coat, and walked toward the door. I walked straight for the door, not stopping for anyone. Behind me, voices broke into scattered murmurs, shock, confusion, whispers of my name, but I did not care. I just needed to get out, to breathe, to feel something other than betrayal pressing down on my chest. The moment I stepped onto the porch, the cold December air slapped me across the face. I welcomed it. The chill bit into my skin, but it felt better than the suffocating heat in that dining room full of ruined memories and stunned silence. I grabbed the wooden railing, holding tight until my knuckles turned white. Inside, the chaos still buzzed. I could hear Winona trying to calm Aida. My father was barking something about calling the cops. Dakota, that coward, was probably still whimpering through a busted nose. I pulled out my phone and stared at it for a second. My thumb hovered over Mark's name, my best friend, my brother in everything but blood. But I could not do it. Could not say it out loud. Not yet. I shoved the phone back in my pocket and started walking. The streets of my old neighborhood felt like a dream I could not wake up from. Christmas lights blinked on houses like everything was fine, like some families were still whole. The sight of happy homes, of dads holding babies, of couples kissing under porch lights, felt like a cruel joke. I ended up at the park down the street. Same bench where Aida and I had sat on one of our first dates, years ago. I remembered the cherry trees in bloom, the way she laughed when I tried to climb one and nearly fell. That laugh used to light up my whole damn world. Now, it echoed in my head like a warning I missed. I leaned back and stared at the stars. What the hell am I supposed to do now? I muttered. Behind me, footsteps crunched on the frost. I turned, half expecting Winona or maybe Aida trying to talk her way out of the mess. It was my father. He stood there for a second, then nodded at the bench. Mind if I sit? I shook my head. He lowered himself down beside me, slow and stiff. For a while, we just sat there, saying nothing, letting the silence fill the space where words felt useless. Eventually, he spoke. You know, your mom and I, we've had our share of fights. Bad ones, too. But this, he sighed. This is different. I did not say anything. Aida messed up, he went on, voice firm. That Dakota guy? I would have put him through the wall myself if you hadn't beat me to it. That almost made me smile. But what matters now, he continued, is what you're gonna do from here. I laughed bitterly. What can I do? She wrecked everything. Everything we built. You cannot undo what she did, son, he said. But you do have a choice. You can try to patch things up, if you believe there's anything left. Or you can walk away, start again. I looked at him, caught off guard by how calm he was. You make it sound simple. It ain't. But it is clear. I stared out at the empty park. We built a life together, Dad. A home. Memories. He shrugged. Memories don't mean much if the foundation's rotten. That hit me hard. Harder than I thought it would. You think people can change? I asked, barely above a whisper. He was quiet for a long moment before he answered. They can, but only if they want to. And you don't have to sit around hoping they do. I nodded, slowly, letting his words settle deep. He clapped a hand on my shoulder. You've always been a good man, Noden. Don't let this destroy you. She ain't worth that. Then he stood up, left me alone with my thoughts, and headed back to the house. I sat there until I could not take the cold anymore. Eventually, I made my way back. Inside, someone had already cleaned up. The blood, the wreckage, it was all gone. But the tension? That was still thick in the air, lingering like smoke after a fire. Aida was sitting alone at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug like it could warm more than just her fingers. She looked up as I walked in, eyes red and swollen. Noden, she started. I raised my hand. Not now, I said. I'm going to bed. She nodded, like she already knew. I climbed the stairs and shut myself in the guest room, lying flat on the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling. My thoughts just kept spinning. Could I ever forgive her? Did I even want to? No matter what came next, one thing was clear: life would never go back to how it was. Morning came, pale and cold. I had not slept much. If I had at all, it was only in broken pieces. My brain just would not stop. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that video. I saw her face. His hands. My hands shaking. I got up, dressed, and went downstairs. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Aida was gone. Part of me was relieved. The other part ached in a way I didn't expect. Winona sat at the kitchen island, coffee in hand. She looked up, her eyes soft. Morning, she said. Is it? I replied, pouring a cup for myself. She paused, then said, I made her leave last night. I stopped mid-sip. You what? She didn't want to, Winona said, quickly. But I told her, this is your home too. She crossed the line. If anyone needed to go, it was her. I sat down, felt the tension in my shoulders ease for the first time in days. She's staying at a hotel, Winona added. Said she'll wait. Let you decide if or when you want to talk. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Later that morning, I grabbed my keys and walked out. I needed to move. Think. Escape the house full of echoes and lies. I drove with no real destination, just letting the road take me wherever it wanted. But no matter how far I went, my mind would not stop replaying the night before. Eventually, I pulled up to a roadside diner. One of those old spots where the coffee was always hot and the waitress calls everyone honey. I took a booth in the back. The waitress, late 50s, kind smile, brought me a mug without asking. Rough night? Sugar? You could say that. I sipped the coffee, burned my tongue, but kept drinking. I pulled out my phone. Saw the messages. From Aida. Please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to fix this. I locked the screen. Could not look at her name without feeling sick. I stared out the window and thought about us. About what we used to be. She was right about one thing. I had been busy. I'd buried myself in work, trying to give us the life we always talked about. But somewhere along the way, we stopped being a team. Our conversations got shallow. Our connection faded. The spark? Gone. Still, none of that excused what she did. She could have talked to me. We could have tried to fix it. But instead, she chose Dakota. And now I was here, drinking bad coffee, wondering if everything we had was ever real. When I left the diner, the sun was high, throwing long shadows over the pavement. I drove straight to Mark's house. He opened the door, took one look at me, and said, Jesus, man, you look like hell. I stepped inside. Thanks, I muttered, sinking into his couch. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a beer and sat across from me. I looked at him, my voice barely held together. And finally, I said it. I caught Aida cheating. With Dakota. After I finished telling Mark everything about the video, the fight, the mess my life had become, my throat was raw and my hands would not stop shaking. He leaned back on the couch, his face tight. Man, he muttered. That's rough. I do not even know what to say. I shook my head, rubbed my eyes. I don't know what to do, Mark, I said, my voice cracking. There's this part of me, this part that still wants to fix it, that wants to believe there's something left to save. But the other part, I don't think I'll ever be able to look at her again without seeing him. He gave a slow nod. You don't have to figure that out right now. Just take your time, Noden. Whatever you decide, make sure it's something you can live with, not something you'll regret later. I sat there for a moment, letting his words sink in. And for the first time since the whole thing went up in flames, I felt a flicker of clarity. That night, lying on his couch staring at the ceiling, I made a promise to myself. Whatever decision I made, whether I stayed or left, I would make it on my terms. No more lies. No more pretending. It was time to take control of my own life again. The next morning, I woke up with a kink in my neck and Mark's words still rolling through my head. His advice had stuck. I needed space. Time. Something I had not really given myself. I sat up and reached for my phone. More text from Aida. Please, Nodin. Just talk to me. I'll tell you everything, no more lies. You can hate me, but I can't lose you. The bitterness hit me like a gut punch. I almost threw the phone across the room. I didn't want her apologies. I didn't want to hear her voice. But that small, annoying part of me, the one that still remembered who she used to be, wanted to know why. I needed answers. Not for her, but for me. So, I gave in. Meet me at the park at noon. One shot. Tell me everything. The wind cut through my coat when I got there. Same bench I had sat on with my father just 2 nights ago. Same one Aida and I used to sit on when we were still falling in love. It all felt like a cruel joke now. She showed up 10 minutes late. Her face pale, her eyes puffy. She had wrapped herself in the same scarf I had bought her last Christmas. And somehow, even after everything, I still noticed that. Hi, she said, soft and timid. I didn't say a word, just motioned for her to sit. She hesitated, then lowered herself onto the bench. We sat in silence, the wind rattling through the bare branches overhead. Finally, I spoke. Why? She flinched. Her hands were wringing in her lap like she was trying to twist the guilt out of them. I don't know where to start, she whispered. Try the truth, I said, my voice flat. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't care. She had made this mess. She could sit in it. I felt alone. Nodin, she said finally. You were always working. Always gone. I started to feel invisible. That's your excuse? I snapped. I was working to build our life, Aida. For us. You know that. And your response was what? Jump into bed with the nearest loser who gave you attention. It didn't start that way, she cried. At first, we just talked. He listened. He made me feel seen. I laughed, bitter and loud. Oh yeah, that's real sweet. So when did the heart-to-hearts become hotel rooms? Her face crumpled, and she looked away. It was a mistake, she said, barely audible. A terrible mistake. No, I said coldly. Forgetting to buy milk is a mistake. What you did? That was a choice. A series of choices. She started sobbing, her face buried in her hands. But I wasn't moved. You don't get to cry, I said sharply. You don't get to act like the victim. She nodded slowly, wiping her face. You're right, she whispered. I have no excuse. I was selfish. I hurt you. But I swear, Nodin, I love you. I always have. Yeah, I scoffed. You've got a hell of a way of showing it. I'll do anything to fix this, she pleaded. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. Just, please don't give up on us. The desperation in her voice hit me in a place I didn't want to feel. For a second, I felt torn, between the man who loved her and the one who had watched everything fall apart. Why him? I asked. Of all people, why Dakota? She looked down, shame filling every part of her face. He was just there. Easy. I don't even know why. It meant nothing. Convenient, I said, the word sour on my tongue. You blew up our marriage over something convenient? I know, she whispered. I stood up, the weight in my chest too heavy to carry while sitting still. I need time, I said. Don't call. Don't text. I need space. She stood too. Okay, she said quickly. I'll wait. As long as it takes. I didn't answer. I just walked away. Every step felt heavier than the last. That night, back at Mark's place, I couldn't stop replaying our conversation. Her voice. Her tears. Her promises. They wrapped around me like a poison I could not shake. Could I forgive her? Could I even want to? The days that followed felt like walking through fog. I told Aida to stay away, and she listened. Winona checked in. Mark tried to distract me, but nothing stuck. The betrayal followed me like a shadow. One night, I gave in. I plugged the flash drive back into my laptop. The video started playing, and with it came everything I had tried not to feel. Her laugh, once my favorite sound, now made my skin crawl. The way she touched him, talked to him, trusted him. It wasn't just about sex. It was intimacy, the kind that used to be mine. I slammed the laptop shut. My hands were shaking. My chest ached like I'd been kicked. I cried. I did not want to, but I did. The next morning, I made the call. David, my lawyer, answered on the second ring. I need to know my options, I told him. He was calm and professional. He had helped me once with paperwork a few years back. Never thought I'd be calling him for something like this. If you want to file, we can start right away, he said. But if there's even a chance you want to work on it, we can slow things down. Counseling, mediation, whatever you need. I'll think about it, I told him. Just don't wait too long, noting. The longer you sit in limbo, the harder it gets. Later that day, Winona showed up with lunch in hand and worry on her face. I brought you something, she said softly, setting down a sandwich I wasn't hungry for. We sat in the kitchen, the silence between us stretching. How you holding up? She asked. I shrugged. Depends on the hour. She gave me a sad smile. That's normal. You're grieving, Noden. But you're strong. Stronger than you know. Doesn't feel like it. You are, she said firmly. And you deserve better than what she did. Her words settled in my chest like a stone, but not a heavy one. This time, it felt grounding. That night, I went back to the house. It was quiet. But this time it felt mine. I stood at the bedroom door, but couldn't walk in. That bed, it belonged to a different life now. I grabbed a pillow, a blanket, and headed for the guest room. As I lay down, my phone buzzed again. From Aida. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I'm not giving up. Just tell me what you need. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. I need time. She answered almost instantly. Then I'll wait. No matter how long. I didn't write back. The next morning, I met with David in person. He explained the divorce process, every detail. The property split, the paperwork, what to expect. Think she'll contest it? He asked. I shook my head. No. She wants to win me back, not fight me in court. That'll help, he said. Less stress, fewer delays. Doesn't feel easy. No, David said. It never is. On the drive home, I thought about what I'd just done. I still had not signed anything yet, but the wheels were turning. When I got home, I sat in the guest room and stared at the papers. Was I really ready to let her go? I did not have that answer yet. But I knew one thing. I was not going to live like this anymore. David had handed me the papers days ago. Just a signature. That was all it would take to start the divorce. But I could not bring myself to do it. Not yet. Instead, I tucked them into the drawer, out of sight, but not out of mind. They sat there like a loaded gun, quiet but full of finality. That night, lying in the guest room wide awake, I made a promise to myself. Whatever came next, whether I fought for this broken marriage or walked away from it forever, it would be my decision. Not Aida's, not Takota's, not even David's. Mine. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to control. And for now, that was enough. 2 weeks passed without a single word exchanged between us. The house, once full of warmth, now echoed like a hollow shell. Every room was a memory, some good, some tainted beyond repair. The divorce papers stayed untouched, a constant, heavy reminder of the choice I still had not made. I buried myself in work, dodged family calls, ignored messages from mutual friends. I thought staying busy would help. But the truth was, I was circling the same question over and over again. Do I give Aida another chance? Or do I end it all? The answer came faster and uglier than I ever expected. It was a Friday evening. I was sitting in the living room, watching the sun go down, when there was a knock at the door. I was not expecting anyone, and for a moment I considered ignoring it. But the knock came again, louder, persistent. When I opened the door, Takota was standing there. His face was still bruised from the last time we saw each other. The swelling around his nose barely healed. I gripped the edge of the door tighter, my body already tense. You've got some nerve showing up here, I said through gritted teeth. I need to talk to you, he said, his voice tight. It's about Aida. Get off my porch before I finish what I started. She's been lying to you, he said quickly, almost stumbling over his words. She lied to both of us. I froze. What are you talking about? I asked, narrowing my eyes. She played me, man, he said, glancing behind him as if he expected her to appear. Told me she was leaving you, that we had a future, but it was all a lie. She used me. I stared at him, unimpressed. So you finally figured out my wife's a liar. Congrats. Now get lost. You don't get it, he said, holding up his hands. It's not just me. There's someone else. She's been seeing another guy. From her gym. I found out last week. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I felt the air leave my lungs. You're lying, I said, but it was more for me than for him. Check for yourself, he said, voice rising. Ask her. Look at her gym logins. You'll see. She told me the same thing she probably told you. That she was lonely. That you didn't care. My grip on the door tightened, and I could feel my pulse in my throat. Get out, I said quietly. Just check, he repeated, backing away. That's all I'm asking. I slammed the door in his face and leaned against it, heart hammering in my chest. I did not sleep that night. As much as I hated Dakota, as much as I wanted him to be full of it, I could not ignore the feeling that he was telling the truth. It had been eating at me since the dinner, since the first betrayal. And now this? The next morning, I drove to Aida's gym. I parked across the street and waited. I had not told her I was coming. I needed to see it with my own eyes. An hour later, she walked out. Her hair was pulled back, cheeks flushed from the workout. But she was not alone. A man followed behind her, tall, lean, confident. She smiled at something he said, brushing her fingers against his arm like it was nothing. Like it was normal. My gut twisted. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I wanted to get out, to drag her into the street and demand answers. But I didn't. Not yet. They got in his car and drove off. That night, I waited for her. She walked through the front door just past 8, like nothing had happened. I was sitting at the kitchen table. The divorce papers were spread out in front of me. Noden, she said, her voice cautious. What's all this? Sit down, I said. She hesitated, but then sat across from me, her eyes drifting to the documents. What's going on? She asked. I know about the guy from the gym. She went pale. I saw you, I said flatly. I know everything. There was a long pause. Then, like a mask slipping, her expression hardened. So what if I have? She snapped. At least he makes me feel alive. Those words, they hit harder than any punch. Alive. I echoed. You destroyed our marriage. Lied. Cheated. And now you're telling me this is about feeling alive. She stood up, her eyes flashing. You do not understand, she said, her voice sharp. You stopped being present years ago. I needed someone, and you were never there. I stood too, shaking with fury. I worked my ass off to give you everything, I said, my voice barely contained. The house, the stability, the future. And this is what I get. You don't see it, she said. You never saw me. You only saw what you wanted me to be. Get out, I said, my voice cold as steel. Take your lies, your games, and leave. Now. She stared at me, her mouth hanging open. But she saw it in my face. There was no coming back from this. Without another word, she grabbed her keys and stormed out. The door slammed behind her. And just like that, it was done. I sat in the silence that followed, staring at the papers in front of me. I reached for the pen and signed my name with a steady hand. It was not the ending I had imagined, but it was the one I needed. Aida's betrayal broke something in me, but it also woke me up. For the first time in a long time, I felt clear, focused. This life was mine now, and I was finally ready to move forward.